Confirmation yesterday that Carter Holt Harvey will close its sawmill in Eves Valley, and that means the loss of 142 jobs. It'll have an enormous social and economic impact on the Nelson and Tasman regions. So I'm joined now by Tasman Mayor Tim King to just talk about, I suppose, where to next. Tim, good morning.
Morning, Garth.
Yeah, look, probably not the news that you would be surprised by, but we're hoping that there could have been some last-minute deflection or some, push it down the road a little bit longer or reconsideration of this closure?
Yeah, realistically, I didn't think that was likely. When the announcement was made 2 weeks ago, it was fairly clear with the rationale and the reasoning behind the decision that any change, either to the timing or the decision itself, was very unlikely to happen.
So it's really, for the last couple of weeks, you've been sort of helping people come to terms with that news as much as anything, rather than sort of pushing back?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of conversations that have been happening. I know there's a number of, I've certainly myself and the Mayor of Nelson have fielded a lot of queries for people who have thoughts about what the site could be used for. I know there's been conversations with some parties in Carter Holt Harvey. So our role has really been to encourage those conversations and discussions. Ultimately, it's a decision for the owner of the mill. But I think right through that whole time, it was always likely to be a very long shot to get any change.
Well, I guess if we look at it here, is this just a good asset in the wrong place, or is it sort of an asset that's been sort of a little bit left behind? I know you don't run the business, but you sound like you've got a pretty good idea of what's going on there.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, it's actually a really good asset in a really good place. It just so happens that in Carter Holt's business model, it doesn't fit into their future business. One of the most frustrating things is not that Carter Holt have chosen not to necessarily keep Eves Valley Sawmill open, but they don't seem very open to anyone else taking it on to continue to produce sawn timber in this region. And there's been a lot of investment in this site over the last 5 or 7 years, $25 million, new investment in kilns, drying facilities, the amount of time and effort that the management locally and the staff have put in to make it a really efficient site. So I guess that adds to the disappointment that it's now been closed.
And now, so from the sound of that, they're looking at completely taking it out of contention, really, so that a competitor couldn't sort of set up and potentially push them on whatever else is going on. Is that the sort of feeling you're getting?
That is the feeling I'm getting. I mean, obviously, like you say, I don't run the business, but that is certainly the feeling locally that they don't want anyone else to be operating on this site producing sawn timber that may be competitive with their Kawerau plant.
Yeah, I'd say, look, I mean, you've obviously had some weather difficulties, some climate difficulties, and flooding and stuff happening down there. This on top of that, what are the spirits like down there?
No, it's not. It hasn't been an ideal couple of months. But I mean, people are phenomenally resilient. They were resilient through the flooding events. I'm sure the community will be resilient to this. I mean, our thoughts are, most people, I'm sure everyone's thoughts at the moment are with those 142 people whose jobs come to an end in 4 weeks. And there is real challenges in the economy generally. And so the opportunities to replace those jobs locally is going to be very difficult. I don't think anyone's there's not a lot of optimism around how easy it will be to replace that number of jobs in this region. Again, our role is to try and encourage, make sure that the government supports the people looking for work, and whether that's locally, obviously preferably those jobs are here, or in other parts of the country.
All right, Tim King, thank you very much for your time and for your work this morning. Tim King, the Mayor of Tasman there, putting a good word in for the people who will be looking at other things to do now that sawmill is closing down.